Hello, Merry Christmas. Welcome to this channel. I'm the writer, I'm the creator, I'm the recorder, I'm the producer, I'm the everything that you can think of for this channel, where I write immersive stories in the second person narrative for you to enjoy. So in this episode, I'm going to take you down to a very classical Christmas story where you find a voodoo doll and you can use this voodoo doll to slap the most powerful person in the world, to slap this person into submission and make this world a better place. Without further ado, I'm going to start the story, and if you enjoy the story, feel free to go to the channel, enjoy the other stories that I have written for you guys. There's gonna be comedy, there's gonna be romance, there's gonna be drama, anything that you can think of. Enjoy, and we will start now. How do you deal with the anger when there is nothing you can do to solve the problems? Maybe it was as small as a misunderstanding in life. Maybe it was bigger, like the truth you know is ignored by the world. How about the frustration that there are wars all over and you just cannot stop any of it? What would you do to deal with the agony if you gained a special power to mess around and solve some of the problems to make this world a bit nicer? Hello, fellow humans. This is Lots of Hope. Welcome to this episode of The Living Journey, where we escape and explore a life in an alternate universe. Merry Christmas, and thank you for your support. Now, let's decompress. Slap. It's been a long day at work. On the way to the Christmas shopping, holding a paper plate of sliced cake, covered with tinfoil, in the dreadful bone-chilling wind, before walking into the stores, walking by a random trash can, you couldn't toss the plate of cake fast enough. It was your most resented, annoying new coworker. You were so ready to call your best friend, then complaining about the new time-wasting behavior that the new coworker bothered you with. In the dark night, on the way home, holding bags of goods, you see a small doll under the streetlight. You couldn't help but walked towards it. It looked like an old doll, hand-stitched with scrap fabrics, in the silhouette of a human, with a big round head, a small torso, and tiny limbs. You could easily grab the body of the doll with your hand and expose the bubble head of the doll above your fist. Out of curiosity, with a strange force, you took the doll back home. Back in the apartment after dinner, you took out your laptop from your backpack. On the back of the computer, a birthday card to your coworker that was statically attached to the computer came out of the bag. It fell onto the doll that you found on the street, cuddling the doll like a blanket. Later on, when you realized that you forgot to grab the paper from the printer before you sat down, you stood up to grab it. Walking towards the printer, you accidentally stepped onto the head of the doll. With a slip, you fell back onto the couch. Thankfully, you didn't hurt yourself. Feeling agonized, seeing the doll under the birthday card blanket, you kicked the doll away. The doll flew lowly, hit one of the feet of the coffee table, and seeing the birthday card, you confusingly picked it up. And there was just your coworker's name and date of birth, with the simple line of happy birthday. Realizing the card that was on the doll might have fell into your bag when you were at work, felt a bit of disgust. You threw the birthday card into the trash. The next day, you arrived at your work. You heard the news that the coworker was attacked on the way home. The head was stomped on, and the forehead was hit with a sharp cornered bar. And they hadn't found the attacker just yet. Hearing the news, you felt a bit of discomfort. A quiet horror screamed in the back of your head that what happened to the doll last night had something to do with the attack. Feeling anxious all day at work, finally at the end of the day, you went to the hospital with the others to visit the coworker. Seeing the completely wrapped head laying on the bed, you couldn't help but feel bad. Thankfully, the injury wasn't severe, especially after being shown a surveillance video of the attack. The police concluded that it was a wind, a strong draft that threw the coworker into the air, causing the injuries. As there is no one but the coworker on the street. Knowing for a fact that you and the doll had caused it, you fell into a panic. Got home quickly and retrieved the steps of how things happened the night before. I dropped the doll here when I got home, and then the stomp, doing the gesture physically. You continued. I stepped on the doll and kicked it. Realizing the birthday card was on top of the doll, you came to the conclusion that the doll, with the name and the date of birth, will cause the damage to the person that you are cursing with this special voodoo doll. Feeling naughty, you wanted to test your theory, completely forgetting about the guilt that you accidentally sent the resentful coworker into the hospital. Turning on the TV, which tuned to a local channel as the local news was playing. You looked up the news anchor's name and date of birth, wrote it on a piece of paper, then wrapped the paper around the body of the doll and held the doll with your hand. Taking a deep breath, you lifted the hand with the doll to the TV and gently tapped the head of the doll. 7 seconds later, the anchor on the live TV, who was reporting on the war caused by a greedy dictator, raised her hand and touched her own head on the exact part where you tapped the doll. You were in shock. Did one more try. You gently slapped the doll on the face. And in seconds, the anchor stopped talking on TV, held her hand up against her cheek, as she was just gently slapped by you, and then resumed her professionalism, finished her reading, and cut into the commercial. You were satisfied with learning the secret of the doll. So you stopped, carefully removed a piece of paper with the name and the date of birth before putting the doll down. You felt so silly and powerful at the same time. The next day, you brought a notebook to write down people that you dislike and would love to give a harmless slap, releasing some of the tension and anger. The first person, your high school nemesis, who has spread 3 false rumors and 1 real gossip about you. Of course, you had picked an ugly photo of her, made her look a bit chubbier than she actually looked in the yearbook. At the time, you considered it as the ultimate revenge. But with great power You found the need to forge your great responsibility and have your final laugh. Tripping down your memory lane, finding her social media, stalking her online. You found her date of birth through a birthday celebration post. Coincidentally, your nemesis had made an announcement that a couple days from now she would host a cookie sale fundraiser for the local firefighters, along with the announcement that the charity firefighter calendar for the coming year. Spending your precious weekend holding the largest canvas bag that you own, safely securing the doll and the piece of paper that you had written the name and date of birth in the bag. You arrived at the fundraiser. Seeing her standing in front of a small crowd, you felt silly. She was actively trying to help the local firefighters for the purchase of their new protective equipment. Thinking that you should be a better person, you turned around and started to walk back to your car, not realizing the strap of the tote had gotten loose from your shoulder. Instantly, when the bag dropped on the floor, your nemesis screamed loudly. You heard from the crowd, "It's like somebody slapped her." Quickly bent down, picking up your bag, you quickly removed the piece of paper off the doll. Dare not to throw the paper anywhere, fearing someone walk up to you and demanding you to open your clenched fist. You shoved the paper into your mouth, chewed and swallowed the paper. Back at home, you didn't have much energy to run your errands. You just collapsed onto the couch and turned on the TV. When the local news came on, you saw the anchor, who you had pranked with the doll, started her special report by first playing a video captured by phone. And suddenly, with a familiar scream, you turned your attention to the TV. It was your nemesis earlier today. After you dropped the bag, her head led her body down the air, pushed to the foldable plastic picnic table next to her, had a little bounce, and screamed loudly. Seeing the video, you felt bad that you had again accidentally caused a minor injury to one more person. But before you could feel the complete remorse, the anchor lady told the odd head tapping and the sudden slap that she felt yesterday. I wasn't sure if I was too tired or I was hallucinating. Then she showed a video of her being tapped on the head and slapped on the cheek from the broadcasting last night. Sounding scared in her trembling voice, she said, "Until I see this following video." Then she went on and played the surveillance video of your coworker getting thrown onto the air, with a bit of much needed cinematic editing, of course, making this whole presentation even more haunting. The segment quickly blew up, turning into the talk of the town. All people could talk about was the report on the local channel, with some people feeling the fear of the misfortune happening to themselves, and some people doubting the reality of the videos. Even when asked about the coworker's incident, the doubtful eyes couldn't find a logical answer. When they turned to you, it seemed like you were the only person that didn't actually have an opinion about the whole situation. You shook your head and pretended to say, "I don't know. I didn't hear enough of the whole situation. I don't like to speculate." Coincidentally, one of your managers walked by and complimented you on your attitude about things, congratulating you on the attitude towards things, and also thanking you for voluntarily taking up the extra work until the coworker returned. You turned shy, not only because you didn't know how to react, but you also felt a bit of guilt for abusing your power with the slaps. For the second day in a row, it might just be the local news getting the taste of the viral sensation. Capitalizing on the moment, they had a follow-up segment interviewing a bunch of people from the town claiming that they had been slapped. Each person had their own stories. How they were slapped when they were just doing their daily chores. And at the end, a person was interviewed by the church, asking forgiveness from God on camera, confessing all the sins. Of course, all the ridiculous confessions were just minor incidents, almost like fender benders compared to your crime, however accidental it was. With the push of the second night of reporting, your tongue went into a frenzy. None of the descriptions sounded like the result of your magical doll. You could almost confirm that they were either hallucinating or chasing fame. Then the story went national, with more and more people concerned, with more and more people became spectacle, and more people claiming they had been slapped. You decided to stop this whole maniacal hoopla. Using your non-dominant hand, you wrote a letter to the news anchor, apologizing and confessing a made-up story of yourself being an old, ancient magician who had recently just woken up from a long hibernation. Feeling confused about the word, you accidentally slapped and hurt the coworker, then slapped the news anchor out of curiosity because you had never seen TV. And last but not least, accidentally pushed the nemesis and slapped her by accident. But that was all that had happened. You had slapped no one else. And whoever claimed to have been slapped without actually being slapped will get a dose of the real painful slap. Sending the letter out in the most discreet way that you can think of. You went out of your way, dropped the mail into the mailbox, and then went back home to anticipate the reading of the letter. But your hope was not successful. On the exact night that the mail was sent out, the news channel decided to read all the letters regarding the slaps on the show. Continuously reading the letters, more people joined in the fiasco. That included the President of the United States, who seized the moment to push for her agenda. Feeling angry and annoyed like you had never felt before, you wrote another letter to the news station, telling the anchor lady or whoever reads the letter that she would be slapped on air at a certain time. Not sure if it was them getting too many prank letters or nobody ever reads the letter. But after many attempts, after you traveled to many mailboxes to send the letters, also with the anchor lady being slapped over and over again on air at the exact time that you had written on the letters. Each time that she was slapped, she would become more and more hysterical. And she would ask, "Did you all see that? Did you all see that? Did you all see that?" Finally, when she found your letter with the video editors, they compiled all the clips of her being slapped and grew hysterical together. Along with the letter being presented, the news channel finally aired your first original letter. You cheered so loudly, thinking that you could finally again not slap the anchor lady ever again. The word once again made a joke. Most people who were obsessed with the story had grown completely suspicious or outright gave up on the news anchor lady, and they didn't trust the news reporter who had caused the national embarrassment. Seeing the anchor lady being fired and tearfully making an apology video while maintaining her honesty and innocence, you felt so bad that you had caused this hardship, possibly ending her dream of being a reporter since she was young. You decided to write another letter to the news station and the fired anchor herself. You check the schedule of the president, who happens to have a scheduled live broadcasting in the Oval Office 1 week before Christmas, to adjust the failure of support on the foreign war and adjust the nation to wish everyone a happy holiday. You decided to slap the President of the United States when the live broadcasting was going on, to vindicate the news anchor. You wrote at the end of the letter, "I sincerely apologize for all the slaps. I only wanted to prove my existence and not realize that this selfish gesture would cost your job." With the excitement of seeing your writings in the odd wiggly font, she quickly recorded a video of the predicted slaps with the exact minute. Seeing the video, you set up alarms after alarms after alarms to make sure that you slap the most powerful person in the world in the face during a live broadcast on time. As no one took the prediction letter seriously, the slaps became the most resounding evidence that she was telling the truth. With very little doubt left, she gained her job back and returned on air the next day, reporting on the incident that happened in the Oval. The slapping incident again became the most viral talk of the town. Sitting in the apartment by yourself, wrapping up the gifts to your friends and family, you received a group chat message from your coworker, thanking everyone to come to the hospital to visit. Then received a personal message thanking you for covering for the work during the recovery and apologizing to you for not liking you, thinking that you were a bit of a snob. Reading the message, you sighed, dropped your gift wraps, and got online to search for your nemesis. Thought that you should also show some kindness to your nemesis, to at least comfort her for the accident. Out of curiosity, you started doom scrolling, enjoying the creative meme creation of the internet. Couldn't stop laughing about the recreation of your magical slaps, and couldn't stop laughing about the comments under the funny memes. You found a comment that says, "Wonder who else is on the naughty list." You opened your notebooks with names, crossing out most of the people who you wanted to slap. You see the name of the dictator who had caused the war for the whole year and is still refusing to stand down, causing deeper and deeper harms. So you wrote another mail to the anchor, telling her that on the day of Christmas, while the dictator would be having Misa in the church, he will be slapped since he's on the naughty list. And the news exploded, going from small town gossip, catching national attention, to international mockery, and now landing on the biggest global sensation. Would the dictator get slapped over and over again? On the night of the Misa, you sat in your childhood bedroom, pretending to be under the weather, with your whole family sitting in the living room, gathering around the TV, watching the live broadcasting of the Misa from the other side of the world. The dictator, surrounded by tons of undercover securities, pretending to be cool after being briefed that the Oval Office slapping incident was just a psyop by the CIA to cause the fracture of support and scare the dictator himself, causing the strongman image to crumble. Having no choice but to attend the Misa with a smile, one camera was set up to focus on the dictator's face all night to prove what a powerful man he was. With the anticipation of the word, the broadcast started. With the priest walking up the grand golden altar under the watchful eyes of the Lord and Savior, you gently tap the cheeks of the dictator. With the smallest facial expression of the dictator, causing your family in the living room to make an exciting fuss, you saw on your own tablet that the dictator twitched his lips. Feeling an unstoppable excitement, you began to feel the naughtiness in your heart exploding, like hearing the most juicy gossip about your favorite and the most resented celebrity. You uncontrollably laughed out like a little piggy, knowing that the following hour would be so much more fun. You had to calm yourself down. To build up the anticipation, you scratched the other cheek of the dictator with a feather from your childhood cat toys. Seeing the dictator doing his best, trying to not to move his facial muscles, you giggled and moved to use the feather to tickle the nose. After suffering for the longest 3 seconds of his life, the dictator sneezed in front of the global audience, with the church microphone only catching a faint sneezing sound. You heard your whole family wowed in a loud laugh. You saw the dictator tried to regroup himself, and his security dropped into a panic, thinking of what's going on, looking all around the grand church hall, with no way of anyone or any mechanical devices that could penetrate their view. Some of them started to sweat. Decided to let them relax for a little before squeezing their tense nerve again. You sat in your bed, scrolling through the social media to see the reaction of the internet. With memes and mockeries flourishing and the internet betting market going bonkers, you couldn't help but put down a bet with the excitement. Timing your bet, you scratched the nose of the dictator with the feather. Before he could sneeze again, you gently slapped the dictator for the first time, receiving the winning from the gamble, seeing the frozen shock of the dictator's face, and hearing the loud excitement from the living room. You couldn't help but throwing your fist into the air. Calming yourself back down, you timed another slap according to your bet. You waited in extreme patience to give another gentle slap on the dictator's face. Hearing the excitement from your family, realizing that they had started a drinking game, each time the dictator made a small expression or reactions, they would take a shot. You started to go a bit reckless, teasing the dictator as often as the stars sparkled. The dictator grew restless and wanted to leave the church. But one of his people next to him talked to the dictator, and the dictator angrily stayed. You knew you could take more time and give the dictator a large slap, causing a shock, painful reaction by the dictator. And before the dictator in the church or your family in the living room could react, you gave another slap across the face of the dictator within seconds. Wow and cheers echoed all around the whole house. Seen on the live broadcast, the dictator wanted to run away from the seat out of the camera's view, but his countless security guards blocked his way out. So you gave another slap, causing the escaping dictator to fall back onto the bench. As the dictator and the security guards started to panic, you slapped the dictator again. With the family's panic sound of the drink not being poured fast enough, you gave another slap across the ward. Drink from the bottles. I cannot pour fast enough. Everyone drink from the bottles now. That night, the dictator was slapped at least 20 times before the security guard could react, regroup, and retrieve the dictator out of the camera's lens. Out of the camera's view, you slap the dictator whenever you felt like it. After taking a skincare routine break, you came back to slap the relaxed dictator's face over and over and over again. On the news the next day, the anchor opened the enclosed sealed envelope as you had instructed her, reading the letter that said, I sincerely hoped everyone enjoyed the Christmas special from last night. Here is the warning to the dictator. Stop the war. Closing the letter, the anchor ineluctably made an oops sound, then giggled on camera. Before the new year, the war ended. The president proudly took all the credit, while secretly fearing her face getting slapped. You got a promotion at work, since your managers saw your hard work, outstanding integrity, and took up the extra responsibilities. With the money that you made from the betting market, you purchased a huge amount of the sexy charity calendars, so the local firefighters could purchase their new equipment, you explained. You also made a secret donation to the coworker for the unexpected medical cost. Then you wrote your final letter to the news anchor, asking her to warn all the naughty adults in the world. The slap will come, you just won't know when. That's all for this episode of The Living Journey. I truly am grateful for your time. Feel free to leave your reviews. Please like, follow, or subscribe. Do share this show so we can grow together. Happy holidays. Lots of hope. Signing out.